February 1968. Thuathine Province, 400 meters south of the Imperial Citadel Wall. 12 Marines, 1 corpsman. No radio, no air support, no way out. The NVA controlled every street. 4 men were bleeding out on the floor, and the enemy was closing the circle. Hospital Corpsman 3rd Class Danny Vasquez stared at a pile of smoke grenades in the corner. Purple, yellow, red, green. His squad leader had said it an hour ago. "Smoke's worthless here, Doc." But Doc Vasquez was about to prove him wrong. He was about to use those worthless smoke grenades in a way that wasn't in any manual. A way that would sound completely insane. A way that would rewrite the rules of urban combat. For the next 40 minutes, those smoke grenades would be the only thing standing between his squad and death. The NVA had no idea what was coming. So who was Danny Vasquez? He wasn't a career military man. He wasn't even supposed to be in Vietnam. Born in 1945 in Laredo, Texas, Danny was supposed to take over his father's auto repair shop on San Bernardino Avenue. The shop had been there since 1938, fixing Chevys and Fords for families who'd known the Vasquez name for decades. Danny was the youngest of 4 kids, the one his mother called Mi Corazon, the one who'd always been too tender-hearted to kill mice in traps. His oldest brother Miguel had done 2 tours in Korea, came back different, quieter, drank too much and stared at nothing. Their father, an Anzio veteran, understood something Danny didn't yet. War breaks something inside you that never quite heals right. In 1965, Danny was 19 and taking classes at Laredo Community College, studying to be an X-ray technician. He wanted to help people, to see inside bodies and fix what was broken. But college cost money his family didn't have, and his student deferment felt like cowardice when friends were getting drafted. Here's what Danny didn't know. Enlisting in the Navy wouldn't keep him safe. His girlfriend, Rosa Delgado, begged him not to volunteer. Let them draft you if they want you. Don't volunteer for this. But Danny saw the draft lottery coming. He enlisted in March 1966, figuring he'd serve on a ship far from the jungle. He'd be a corpsman, a Navy medic, helping sailors with physicals and minor injuries. Safe, useful, honorable. The Navy had different plans. Hospital corpsman training at Great Lakes Naval Station was 16 weeks of bandaging and IV starts and CPR. Good instructors taught him to stop bleeding, clear airways, treat shock. But here's what they didn't teach him. How to do all that while people were actively trying to kill him. December 1966, he got his orders. Field Medical Service School at Camp Pendleton. That's when Danny learned the truth. Navy corpsmen don't serve on ships. They serve with the Marines. They go where Marines go. And Marines were going to Vietnam. FMSS was 8 weeks of hell. They taught him to low crawl through barbed wire, to dig fighting positions, to recognize incoming mortar sounds. They taught him his medical bag would weigh 35 pounds and he'd carry it through rice paddies and up mountains. They taught him Marines would call him Doc, with more respect than they'd give most officers. What they couldn't teach him: how to choose who lives and who dies when you don't have enough morphine for everyone. January 8th, 1968. Danny landed at Da Nang Air Base, stepping off a commercial 707 into heat that felt like opening an oven. The smell hit him first. Jet fuel, raw sewage, rotting vegetation, sweat. Everything smelled wet and spoiled. A gunnery sergeant with a 1,000-yard stare processed him. "Welcome to the NAM, Doc. Try to keep our boys alive." They assigned him to 1st Battalion, 5th Marines, 1 to 5, the 1st of the 5th, operating out of Phu Bai Combat Base. The veterans looked at him the way you'd look at something already dead. The FNG, the fucking new guy. But one veteran showed him something crucial. Lance Corporal Peterson pulled Danny aside his first week. "Doc school teach you to set up an aid station and wait for casualties?" "Yes. Forget it. You go where we go. You run when we run. Somebody yells, 'Corpsman up!' You move toward the shooting, not away from it, against every instinct you got." Then Peterson showed him something not in any manual. "See these smoke grenades? You pop smoke so the medevac bird knows where to land. Purple means 1 urgent, red means 2, combination means mass casualty." Danny nodded, loading smoke grenades into his pack alongside battle dressings and morphine syrettes. Peterson added one more thing. Smoke's only useful if the bird can reach you. If you're in thick shit with no LZ, smoke's just dead weight. Remember that. Danny would remember. He'd remember so well it would save 12 lives. January 30th, 1968. Everything changed. The North Vietnamese and Viet Cong launched coordinated attacks across South Vietnam during Tet, the Lunar New Year. It shattered the illusion that the war was winding down. Cities that had been secure for years suddenly erupted in firefights. Hue City was the worst. The old imperial capital sat along the Perfume River, 400 miles north of Saigon. The ancient citadel, a fortress within a fortress, held the imperial palace and government buildings. It was supposed to be safe, cultural, off-limits to major fighting. Then 10,000 Den VA and VC soldiers poured into Hue. They seized the citadel, raised the North Vietnamese flag over the palace, and executed thousands of civilians. South Vietnamese soldiers and American advisors found themselves trapped in a medieval siege. The Marines were sent to take it back. February 12th, 1968. 1-5 got the call. Reinforce ARVN forces in southern Hue. Clear the city block by block. Retake the citadel. Here's why this was different from every other battle. Urban warfare. House to house. No artillery support near ancient structures. No airstrikes on cultural sites. Just rifles, grenades, and guts. And the terrain made it worse. Hue wasn't jungle. It was stone walls and narrow alleys, second-story windows and hidden bunkers. The NVA had spent 2 weeks fortifying, turning every building into a strong point. They knew Marines were coming. They were ready. The monsoon hammered down in gray sheets, day after day. Visibility dropped to nothing. Helicopters couldn't fly. Supply drops couldn't get through. The wounded stayed wounded, waiting for breaks in weather that never came. If the NVA cut off a squad in this environment, that squad died. Simple as that. Danny Vasquez had been in country 35 days. He treated minor injuries, heat exhaustion, 1 case of immersion foot. He'd never been shot at. That was about to change. February 18th, 1968. 0800 hours. Sergeant Miller's squad drew the mission. Clear a tobacco processing warehouse 400 meters south of the Citadel wall. Intelligence said, lightly held. Intelligence was wrong. They stepped into the warehouse. 20 minutes later, they realized they'd walked into a kill zone. The NVA had let them in, then closed the trap. Automatic weapons fire from 3 directions. RPGs punching through walls. Grenades dropping from second-story windows. Miller made the call. Fall back to the tobacco shop across the street. But the radio took shrapnel in the first 30 seconds. And the rain was so thick the birds couldn't fly anyway. They were on their own. The tobacco shop was a tomb waiting to happen. 1 room, maybe 20 by 30 feet, with a collapsed second floor creating a pile of broken beams in the corner. 2 windows facing the street, both blown out. 1 doorway with no door. Walls thick enough to stop small arms, but not RPGs. No back exit. Miller counted heads. 12 Marines, 1 corpsman. 4 already hit. Danny worked on Chen first, because sucking chest wounds kill fastest. He tore open the plastic wrapper from a battle dressing, slapped it over the hole between Chen's ribs, taped 3 sides to let air escape but not enter. Chen's breathing steadied. Danny pumped morphine into him, marked the M on his forehead in grease pencil. Then Kowalski's hand. Jesus Christ, his hand. 3 fingers gone, bones showing, blood pumping between what remained. Danny wrapped it tight, pressure dressing, morphine. Tried not to think about what the kid's life would be like with half a hand at 19. Jackson's thigh wound wouldn't stop bleeding. Femoral artery, maybe nicked. Danny packed it with gauze, wrapped it tight, elevated the leg. The kid was shaking, going into shock. More morphine. Covered him with a poncho liner. You're good, man. I got you. Williams had a pulse, but wouldn't wake up. Concussion, maybe skull fracture. Nothing Danny could do except monitor. Outside, rain hammered down. Inside, the squad waited. Think they'll send tanks? Somebody asked. Not in this weather, Miller said. And not this close to the Citadel. Higher won't risk damaging the wall. So what's the plan, Sarge? Miller had no plan. The plan was to not die. 1,100 hours. The NVA probed their position. 3 soldiers ran across the street, AK-47s on full auto. Marines returned fire, M16s cracking sharp and fast. The NVA dropped back, testing, seeing where the Marines were, how much ammunition they had, whether they'd panic. 45 hours. Mortar rounds started falling. First one hit 30 meters away. Second one, 20 meters. Third one, 15. They were walking the mortars in, adjusting fire. They're zeroing us, Miller said. When they get the range, they'll drop 20 rounds and rush us in the smoke. He was right. Everyone knew he was right. 20 hours. A Huey tried to reach them. They heard it first, that distinctive whop, 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 cutting through rain. Hope surged. Dust-off! They're sending dust-off! But the NVA heard it too. RPGs streaked up from 3 positions. The Huey jinked hard, pilot's voice crackling. Taking fire, taking fire. Can't get in. LZ is too hot. Sorry, Marines. The sound faded. The rain continued. Chen was getting worse. Shallow breathing. Rapid. The chest wound was sealed, but something else was wrong. Internal bleeding, maybe. He needed a surgeon. He needed it now. Williams still hadn't woken up. His pupils were uneven. Not good. Danny checked his medical bag. 6 morphine syrettes. Maybe 20 battle dressings. 2 IV kits. 3 tourniquets. And in the corner of his pack, underneath everything, the smoke grenades. Purple, yellow, red, green, white. Doc, Miller called. How are they? Chen and Williams need surgery. Today. Can they last until weather clears? Danny looked at Chen's gray face. Maybe not. Miller nodded. He knew what that meant. 1,400 hours. The NVA attacked. Not a probe. A full assault. 20 soldiers, maybe more, from 2 directions. A K-47s on full auto. RPGs punching through walls. Grenades clattering through windows. The Marines met them with everything. M16s on 3-round burst. M60 machine gun stuttering from the left window. M79 grenade launcher thumping 40mm rounds into the street. Cordite smoke filled the room. Dust. Rain. 4 minutes. Felt like 4 hours. When it was over, 2 more Marines were hit. Rodriguez took shrapnel in the shoulder. Benson caught a ricochet in the calf. Danny worked on them while his hands shook from adrenaline. Not bad wounds. They'd live, if they got out. But ammunition was getting low. M60 gunner had maybe 200 rounds left. Everyone else down to 3 magazines or less. They'll hit us again before dark, Miller said. And we don't have the ammo to stop them. Someone had to say it. We need to break out. But break out where? The NVA controlled every street. They'd have to carry 4 wounded through open ground while taking fire from all sides. It was suicide. Danny sat in the corner, staring at his smoke grenades. His brain was working on something. Some crazy idea that wouldn't quite form. Smoke's only useful if the bird can reach you, Peterson had said. If you're in thick shit with no LZ, smoke's just dead weight. But what if smoke wasn't for marking? What if smoke was for concealment? Not from the air. From the enemy. 1445 hours. Danny Vasquez stood up and said the stupidest thing anyone had heard all day. I can get us out. Miller looked at him like he'd lost his mind. Doc, we've got 4 guys who can't walk. We're surrounded. I know. That's why we use smoke. Smoke? Miller's voice was flat. Smoke grenades? Doc, there's no LZ. Not for the birds. Danny pulled out the smoke grenades, laying them on the floor like dealing cards. For concealment. We smoke out every approach, create a wall they can't see through, move in the confusion. The room went silent except for rain. That's the dumbest fucking idea I've ever heard, someone said. But here's the thing about dumb ideas in war. Sometimes, they're the only ideas left. Miller rubbed his face. Doc, smoke dissipates in seconds, especially in this rain. We'd get maybe 30 seconds of cover, then we're exposed with wounded and the NVA cutting us down. Not if we keep popping smoke the whole way. Not if we move in stages, using smoke as we go. We don't have enough smoke for that. We have 15 grenades between all of us. That's 15 smoke screens. Enough for 500 meters if we do it right. If we do it right, Miller repeated. Doc, nobody does what you're describing. It's not in the manual. I know. That's why they won't expect it. Miller looked around the room. Chen was dying. Williams might never wake up. They were out of options. Show me, Miller said. Danny spread a water-stained map on the floor, talking fast. We can't go back the way we came. They're too thick there. But if we go east 3 blocks, then north toward the river, there's a landing area near the ARVN compound. Intelligence said it was still ours this morning. That's 600 meters through enemy territory. I know. But listen. Danny traced the route. We move in 3-man teams. Each team has smoke. First team pops smoke and runs to nearest cover. Let's say 50 meters. They secure it. Second team pops their smoke and leapfrogs past them. Third team does the same. We keep leapfrogging, always moving through fresh smoke, never staying still. What about the wounded? We carry them in the middle teams. Lead teams clear and smoke. Rear teams cover retreat. Miller stared at the map. The NVA will hear us. They'll know something's moving in the smoke. Let them know. Danny's voice was steady now. They won't know where we're going or how many we are. They'll spray fire blind. Most of it will miss. Most isn't good enough. Staying here definitely isn't good enough. Miller looked at his squad. 8 Marines still combat effective. 4 wounded. 1 corpsman with a crazy idea. He made the decision. We go at 1600. 30 minutes to prep. He pointed at Danny. Doc, this is your show. You're calling the movement. Danny felt his stomach drop. He'd just volunteered to be responsible for 13 lives. 15:45 hours. They prepared to move. They fashioned stretchers from ponchos and broken wood beams. Chen and Williams on stretchers. Jackson and Kowalski could limp with help. They distributed the smoke grenades. Danny kept 5. Miller took 3. Corporal Hayes took 3. Lance Corporal Benson took 2. Rodriguez kept 2. They rehearsed the sequence. Team 1, Danny, Hayes, Private Nguyen. Team 2, Miller, Rodriguez, Private Santos, M60 Gunner. Team 3, Benson, Kowalski, Private Martinez, Wounded Carriers. 4 Marines, rotating stretcher duty. Remember, Danny said, voice steadier than he felt. Don't run through the smoke. You'll come out the other side and get shot. Run to the smoke, stop inside it, then crawl to cover. Pop the next smoke only when ready to move. The smoke is the plan. We live or die by the smoke. The rain was still hammering. That would help. It would ground the smoke, keep it low and thick longer. 1600 hours exactly. Danny pulled the pin on the first grenade. Purple smoke billowed out, thick and chemical smelling, mixing with rain. It spread fast, creating a wall 20 meters wide between them and NVA positions. Move. They burst through the doorway into purple chaos. The world became violet hell. Danny couldn't see 3 feet ahead. Rain and smoke and the taste of chemicals in his mouth. His boots splashed through water, slipped on rubble. Hayes was somewhere left. Nguyen right. He couldn't see either. An AK-47 rattled from somewhere in the smoke. Blind fire. A bullet cracked past Danny's ear. So close he felt displacement. He dropped flat in mud, crawled forward, felt his way to a low wall. Hayes materialized next to him, rain streaming down his face. Where's next position? Danny pointed toward a burned-out car 50 meters ahead. There, on my signal. He waited for the rest to catch up. Miller emerged from smoke, helping Rodriguez carry Chen's stretcher. The kid's eyes were closed. Danny couldn't tell if he was breathing. No time to check. They had to keep moving. Danny yanked the pin on yellow smoke and hurled it toward the car. Yellow smoke exploded, sulfurous and thick, rolling across the street like fog. Go! Go! Team 2 moved through yellow smoke. Danny watched them disappear. Counted to 10, Team 3 followed with the second stretcher. Smoke was already thinning, shredded by rain. An RPG streaked from a second-story window. Explosion threw mud and shrapnel 20 meters away. Someone screamed, "Keep moving, don't stop!" Danny crawled forward through yellow smoke. It burned his throat. He couldn't see anything. He moved toward where he thought the car was, praying he was going right. His hand hit metal. The car. He'd made it. Miller was already there, setting up the M60 to cover their rear. We're good. Next position is that building with blue shutters. 100 meters. 100 meters of open street. The smoke was gone. The NVA would see them. I'll smoke it twice, Danny said. Red first, then green halfway across. That'll give us cover the whole way. Do it. Danny pulled out red smoke, pulled the pin, threw hard. Red smoke bloomed 40 meters out. He waited 5 seconds, threw green beyond it. Green smoke erupted, overlapping red, creating a wall of Christmas-colored chaos. Now! They ran through hell, painted red and green. Smoke thick enough to breathe, thin enough to move through. Danny could see shapes, but no details. Enemy or friendly? He didn't know until Hayes grabbed his arm, pulled him left, away from an NVA soldier who'd wandered into the same cloud. Enemy soldier's eyes went wide. He swung his AK up. Hayes shot him twice. The man fell backward into green smoke and disappeared. Keep moving, Doc. Danny ran. His boots slipped on wet stone. He went down hard, felt his knee pop, pain shooting up his leg. He got up anyway, limping now, pushing through smoke already dissipating. Bullets cracked through air. Blind fire. Most went wide. Some didn't. Behind him, someone grunted. Danny spun. Rodriguez was down, clutching his side. Blood seeped between fingers, mixing with rain. Danny grabbed him, dragged him toward the blue-shuttered building. Smoke was gone. They were exposed. Muzzle flashes lit up windows 50 meters away. AK-47s on full auto. Bullets chewed into the street, throwing up geysers of mud. Hayes laid down covering fire. 3-round bursts. Methodical. Move! Doc! I got you. Danny pulled Rodriguez through a doorway. Hands grabbed them. Miller. Rodriguez is hit. How bad? Danny ripped open the Marine's flak jacket. Entry wound left side. No exit. Bullet was inside, probably bouncing around organs. Bad. Real bad. Can he move? He has to. Danny packed the wound with gauze, wrapped it tight, shot Rodriguez full of morphine. The Marine's face went slack. Danny marked another M on a forehead. 5 wounded now. 8 smoke grenades left. Maybe 300 meters to the river. They weren't going to make it. But Danny wasn't done thinking. While Miller organized next movement, Danny studied remaining smoke grenades. Purple, yellow, red, green, white, different colors. He'd been treating them like they were all the same. But what if he used different colors strategically? What if he created multiple smoke screens simultaneously, in different colors, from different positions? Here's the genius of it. The NVA would see purple smoke in one place, yellow in another, green in a third. They wouldn't know which screen the Marines were using. They'd have to spread fire across all of them. Diversion. Not just concealment, Sarge, Danny said. Give me all the smoke you've got left. Doc, we need those too. Trust me. I'm going to make them think we're 3 different squads moving in 3 different directions. Miller stared at him. Then slowly, he smiled. You're out of your fucking mind, Doc. But we're already dead if we don't try something. They collected every remaining smoke grenade. 8 total. Danny separated them by color. When I give the signal, we throw all of them at once. Different directions, different colors. The NVA will see smoke everywhere. They won't know which one we're actually using. Which one are we using? The white one. Straight toward the river. We throw the others north, south, and back, the way we came. Then we haul ass through white smoke while they're shooting at purple and yellow. It was insane. It was beautiful. 16-30 hours. They executed. 6 smoke grenades flew through air simultaneously. Purple smoke erupted 2 blocks north. Yellow bloomed 1 block south. Red exploded behind them. Green rolled out west. And right in front of them, white smoke spread like a blessing toward the river. The effect was instant chaos. The NVA, who had been converging on the blue-shuttered building, suddenly saw smoke in 5 locations. They opened fire in all directions, confused, spreading ammunition thin, hitting nothing. Move! 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 The squad ran through white smoke like ghosts. Danny carried one end of Chen's stretcher, Hayes the other. The kid was unconscious now, maybe dead. Danny didn't have time to check. His knees screamed with every step. Medical bag weighed 1,000 pounds. Rain poured down his neck, inside his flak jacket, cold and relentless. Behind them, NVA fired into purple smoke, yellow smoke, red smoke, anywhere but white smoke. They covered 100 meters in 90 seconds. Ahead, Danny saw friendlies, ARVN soldiers in tiger stripe fatigues, American advisors, a perimeter, safety. Coming in friendly, don't shoot. They crashed through the perimeter line, collapsing in mud behind sandbags. Danny laid Chen down, checked his pulse. Nothing. He checked again, pressing harder against the carotid artery. There, faint, thready, but there. I need a medevac, now! An advisor grabbed a radio. Dust off. We've got multiple urgent at ARVN compound. Weather's breaking. Can you fly? Radio crackled. Roger, inbound in 5. Pop smoke for LZ. Danny almost laughed. After everything, now they were using smoke for its intended purpose. He pulled out his last smoke grenade, purple, for one urgent, and threw it into the courtyard. 16:45 hours. The Huey came in. The helicopter lifted off at 16:52, rotors slicing rain, rising above smoke and ruins of Who. Danny rode with the wounded. Chen, Williams, Rodriguez, Jackson, Kowalski. 5 men crammed into space, meant for 3 IVs swinging from hooks, blood pooling on the deck. Chen arrested 30 seconds after takeoff. His heart just stopped. Danny pumped his chest, counting compressions, breathing into his mouth, pumping again. The crew chief helped, squeezing an ambu bag. 1 minute. 2 minutes. 3. Chen's eyes fluttered open. His chest rose on its own. Danny sat back against the bulkhead, shaking. Rain and sweat and someone else's blood covered him head to toe. His hands wouldn't stop trembling. They landed at 22nd Surgical Hospital in Fubai 12 minutes later. Doctors and nurses swarmed, pulling wounded onto gurneys. Running towards surgical tents, Danny climbed down slowly. His knee had swollen to twice normal size. He limped toward the aid station. A major stopped him. You the corpsman from 1 to 5? Yes, sir. Your CO said you pulled off some crazy smoke grenade thing. Got a whole squad out through enemy territory. We made it out, sir. That's all. That's all? The major studied him. Son, we've been fighting in Hue for 3 weeks. Nobody breaks contact like that. Nobody walks 600 meters through enemy positions and brings back all their wounded. How'd you do it? Danny shrugged. Smoke grenades weren't doing anything else useful, sir. Figured I'd find a use for them. The battle for Hue lasted until March 2nd, 1968. 26 days of brutal urban warfare. 216 Marines dead. 1,609 wounded. The NVA lost an estimated 5,000 soldiers. Civilian death toll was in the thousands. The tactical innovation Danny Vasquez improvised was noted in the 1 to 5 after-action report as effective under specific urban warfare conditions. No formal doctrine change resulted. The Corps wasn't ready to rewrite the manual based on one desperate gambit. But among Marines who'd been there, word spread. Corpsmen started carrying extra smoke grenades. Squads practiced smoke and movement in urban terrain. It wasn't official. It wasn't taught at infantry school. But it was real, passed along in the oral tradition that keeps Marines alive when manuals fail. Danny Vasquez was recommended for the Silver Star. The citation read, for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity in action against the enemy, while serving as hospital corpsman with Company B, 1st Battalion, 5th Marines in Hue City, Republic of Vietnam. Despite intense enemy fire and without regard for his own safety, Petty Officer Vasquez devised and executed an innovative tactical maneuver that enabled his surrounded squad to break contact and evacuate multiple casualties through hostile territory. His courage, initiative, and devotion to duty were in keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service. The medal was presented at Fubai 3 weeks later. Danny stood at attention while a colonel pinned it on his chest. His squad was there. Chen was there. still recovering but alive. Williams was stateside, learning to live with permanent brain damage. Rodriguez had lost his spleen but survived. Danny accepted the medal, saluted, and went back to work. He had 7 months left in country. September 15th, 1968. Danny Vasquez rotated out of Vietnam. Nobody was waiting at Travis Air Force Base. He stepped off the commercial 707 wearing dress whites, silver star on his chest, medical bag over his shoulder. Protesters lined the chain-link fence. Signs read, "Baby killers, war criminals, murderers." A woman in her 20s spit toward him. "How many children did you kill?" Danny walked past without responding. What could he say? That he'd saved lives? That he'd never fired his rifle at anyone? That he'd held 19-year-olds while they bled out calling for their mothers? She wouldn't believe him. Nobody wanted to hear about heroism in an unpopular war. His parents picked him up. His mother cried. His father, the Anzio veteran who understood things, just gripped his shoulder hard and said, "Welcome home, son." They drove to Laredo in silence. For 11 years, Danny Vasquez didn't talk about Hugh. He tried working at his father's shop, but his hands shook too much to hold tools steady. He tried the X-ray technician program, but he couldn't stand hospital smells. He took a job driving trucks, long-haul routes where he didn't have to talk to anyone. The nightmare started 6 months after he got home. Always the same, purple smoke filling a room, Chen dying in his hands, William's uneven pupils, the woman at the airport. He woke screaming 3-4 times a week. Rosa tried to understand. She really did. But after 2 years, she couldn't take it anymore. She left in 1971, married a banker, had 3 kids. Danny started drinking to quiet the dreams. Not heavily at first, just enough to sleep. But enough to sleep became more and more as years went on. 1974. The Veterans Administration diagnosed him with post-Vietnam syndrome. They didn't call it PTSD yet. They gave him pills that made him foggy and numb. He stopped taking them after 3 months. 1977. He developed a cough that wouldn't go away. The VA ran tests. Lung lesions, potentially cancerous. Agent Orange, they said. He'd been exposed during his time in I Corps. Tobacco fields around Hugh had been defoliated 2 years before the battle. Chemicals had soaked into soil, water, air. "Will it kill me?" Danny asked. "Probably," the doctor said. "But maybe not for 20-30 years." That was something, at least. 1979. Danny finally started talking. A local VFW post was forming a Vietnam veteran support group. Danny went to one meeting, intending to sit in back and leave early. But then, a Marine named Patterson stood up. "I can't sleep. Haven't slept through the night since 1970. My wife left. My kids don't know me. I wake up thinking I'm back in the shit and I can't." He broke down crying. Danny stood up without thinking. "I'm the same. It doesn't go away. The nightmares, the guilt, the feeling like you left part of yourself over there." Other men nodded. They understood. For the first time since 1968, Danny told the story of the smoke grenades, the surrounded squad, the desperate run through Hugh, Chen dying and coming back, the woman at the airport. When he finished, the room was silent. Then Patterson said, "You saved lives. Don't let anyone take that from you." Danny started going every week. 1982. The Vietnam Veterans Memorial was dedicated in Washington. Danny flew out with his father. They walked along the black granite wall, finding names they knew. Peterson, killed in 1969. 3 guys from Corpsman school. A cousin who'd served with the 101st. His father, the Anzio veteran, put his hand on the wall. "Your war was different from mine," he said. "Mine, they called us heroes when we came home. Yours, they spit on you. But son, what you did in Hue, that's the same thing I did in Italy. You saved your brothers. That's what matters." It was the first time his father had really talked about the war. They stood there for an hour. 2 veterans from 2 different wars, understanding something civilians never would. The smoke grenade tactics Danny improvised weren't officially adopted by the Marine Corps. Urban warfare doctrine eventually evolved to include better use of smoke, but it came from Desert Storm and Fallujah, not Hugh. Still, among Vietnam veterans, the story persisted. 2001. A Marine Corps University professor researching Hue interviewed Danny for an oral history project. The interview ran 4 hours. Danny described every detail: the weight of smoke grenades, the smell of purple smoke, the sound of Chen's last breath before his heart stopped. "Why do you think your method worked?" the professor asked. "Because we didn't have a choice," Danny said. "Conventional tactics failed, so I made up new ones. Sometimes that's what war is, making it up as you go and hoping you live long enough to see if it worked." 2004. A young corpsman named Stevens wrote Danny a letter. Stevens had just returned from Fallujah, where his squad had used smoke grenades for concealment during a firefight. "My squad leader told me about you," Stevens wrote. "He said if Doc Vasquez could do it in Hue, we could do it in Fallujah. We made it out. 3 wounded, no KIA. I wanted you to know your idea is still saving lives." Danny kept that letter in his wallet until the day he died. Danny Vasquez passed away on November 3, 2009, at age 64. The VA attributed his death to complications from Agent Orange exposure. The lung lesions that had appeared in 1977 had finally become aggressive cancer. He'd lasted 32 years with poison in his lungs. He was buried at Fort Sam Houston National Cemetery in San Antonio with full military honors. 7 Marines from his old battalion flew in. Some he'd treated in Hue, some who'd just heard the stories. Chen was there. He'd become a high school teacher in California, married, had 2 kids. He stood at the graveside and said, "Doc died twice for me, once to bring me back in the helicopter, and once from the chemicals we both breathed in that city. I got 50 years because of him. I hope he knew that mattered." The funeral detail fired 3 volleys. A bugler played taps. They folded the flag and presented it to Danny's nephew. He'd never married, never had kids of his own. His silver star was displayed at the Laredo Veterans Memorial. His name appears on no wall because he survived the war. But to 12 Marines, his name means something walls can never say. What would you do with no radio, no support, and 4 men bleeding out? Could you improvise tactics in real time while the enemy closed in from all sides? Here's what Danny Vasquez proved that day in Hue. Sometimes the equipment you think is useless becomes the only thing that can save you. Sometimes breaking every rule in the manual is the only way to survive. Sometimes one person with a crazy idea is worth more than all the doctrine ever written. Danny Vasquez's story isn't about glory. Vietnam didn't have glory, just survival and sacrifice. But his courage in Hue shows something important. Even in the most controversial war, individual acts of innovation and bravery still mattered. Not to win the war that was already being lost, but to bring men home, to refuse to leave anyone behind. And sometimes, in the mud and smoke and rain of a war nobody wanted, that was the only victory that mattered. What part of this story stayed with you? Did you know about the Battle of Hue? How do we honor these stories while acknowledging the war's complexity? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you served in Vietnam or know someone who did, let us know. If you believe these stories deserve to be told, even when they complicate our understanding of war, share this with someone who should hear it. Because sometimes courage and controversy can coexist. Because soldiers deserve honor, even when wars don't. Because these men fought for each other, even when they questioned why they were there. And because Danny Vasquez turned worthless smoke grenades into a lifeline when nothing else could save them. That deserves to be remembered.